almost daily.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
How much do you see those factors relate to someone's development of an injury? Like, do you often see patterns where there's changes in someone's behavior, or like there's even things going on in their personal life that have an impact on their prevalence of developing an injury?
Yeah, it's possible. Various different times. There's no escaping stress. There's no escaping the impact stress can have on your physical output and injury risk. I guess we try to put monitoring systems in place that detect flags, and that could be subjective information. And we get the athletes to complete wellness and rate how they're feeling and a few different things like sleep quality. And then we have our objective monitoring as well, where we're testing physical capacities, and fluctuations or changes in physical capacities can give us information about the state that they're in on that particular training day, because we do have the luxury of serial testing in a homogenous group of athletes over a long period of time, and we get an appreciation for what is normal for that particular athlete on that particular day.
Do you do any data collection on some of those non-physical factors like sleep monitoring, or like even looking at, say, central nervous system state with some of the what's the technologies?
Omega wave.
Mega wave.
Not at the moment.
No, okay. Because you started using some of that stuff, John.
Yeah, I found that super helpful. Obviously, you get sympathetic, parasympathetic tone through some of the things like HRV, but I actually found the measurement of brainwave activity probably more relevant, particularly for the high speed, high power event.
Yeah.
Their heart rate variability seemed to be pretty consistent and not drop off a cliff as much. Like I had one athlete when I first started coaching him. He was constantly complaining of niggles and things like that, and we sort of said, okay, well, we need to get a much better picture of this, because we trialed a few different sort of microcycle lengths. We were trying to fit him into trying to get 3 or 4 bouts of reasonably high stress training sessions within a 7-day period. What we found is basically at the start he could only tolerate like one really high training stress day, and high intensity once every 10 days, which was one, interesting, and two, frustrating, because you like clearly you
need a bit more training density here.
Yeah, you need to be able to expose yourself to training to stresses at a much closer sort of density than that. The good thing was with the application of training and putting in some better, as you said, like recovery factors, especially for him, was around sleep and food and things like that shifted into about 7 days.
Is that also reflective, do you think, of his training age and history?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Do you expect that to change, do you think, over time?
Yeah, well, I hope it changes. Because, well, the reality is this, is if you want to be, it comes down, we often talk about the idea of like a needs analysis, right? And in the sport of track and field, you need to be able to run fast at least probably once a week, because that's usually the competition structure cycle. But if you get to a really high level, you need to be able to do multiple days. You need to be able to do that across an extended period. So say if this athlete is fortunate enough to be in a position to make an Olympic team or something like that, and run an individual event and then a relay or something like that. Obviously I coach sprints, so that's a possibility. They might run heat day 1, semi and final day 2, then have 2 or 3 days off, then come back and run heat of the 4x1, final of the 4x1, hopefully. So you've got this situation where they've got 3 rounds in 2 days, then they've got a day or so off, and then they've got another 2 rounds. There's no way that athlete right now would tolerate that density of high intensity loading, right? So your needs analysis goes to, okay, well, where do they eventually need to end up, and how do I slowly bridge that gap? And I think it will get closer. I hate to think of the idea that, maybe because of his training history that he's set into this pattern for an extended period. I think it's going to take some interesting challenges to slowly close down that